All right, welcome everybody. So glad that you are with us, and we are live on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you're watching this, you are welcome as those that are watching the replay. What we're going to do is have a little bit of time to talk and to share, do a little Q&A, question and answer. And even if you're watching on the replay tonight or another time, I would encourage you, put your questions in the comments. We're going to get to them. I want to let you know that you are involved in this process. So we're going to get to your questions as best as we can. Now, the good news is, even if for some reason we can't get to it live tonight, next Monday night and the Monday night after that, we are going to be doing 3 of these sessions. Now, with us tonight is my good friend Danny Colella, and he's from Denver, Colorado. He's going to be kind of our moderator tonight, and it's a joy to be able to welcome him to help us with all of this stuff. If you want more information about what he does, go to his website, DannyColella.com, and he'll tell you more about that too throughout our time. But welcome, Danny. Thanks for helping us out, and tell us a little bit about what we're going to do.
Awesome, Michael. Thanks for having me here today, and welcome, church community. This is a really good opportunity to really get in touch with your leadership. So we've got Reverend Michael Smith right here, ready to talk to you and answer your questions live. Now, this is how this is going to work for you, either live or in the replay. We're going to get started. We're going to talk about a little bit about the reopening plan at Trinity Mullica Hill. We know you're curious. So for the next 3 Mondays, like Michael said, we're going to be doing these live broadcasts and answering your questions live or in the replay. But this is to give you information, to keep you in touch. So if you have friends that aren't here or don't see this broadcast, we encourage you to also tag your friends in the community to let them know that this broadcast is going on. But first, Michael, let's talk about this reopening plan at the church. And, you know, when we think about what we need to do and how we need to keep people safe as we move into this plan, first talk about the preparation that you and your team put into this.
Well, one of the most interesting things, you know, I just started here as the lead pastor July 1st, and transitioning in sort of this COVID-19 world has been quite an interesting reality, but I think we've really tried to make the best of all of it. So I've been able to kind of get around to different backyard social distance gatherings. I've been to 22 of those. I've talked with over 200 people. And one of the things that has kind of come up is, hey, when are we going to be getting back to church? Now, the good news is that we've been the church through this COVID-19 world. We've been online. We've been serving in mission, reaching out to our community, helping those in our community. But I understand what people mean, you know, when are we getting back into corporate worship? So we're at the point right now where we can have 25% of our capacity inside the building, where before it was only 50 people. And with the size of our community, we just weren't going to be able to do that. So we stayed online through the summer. And now that it's kind of up to 25%, that number is 94 people. So we figured if we can get 94 people into the sanctuary, then we can start to, you know, begin and resume in-person worship services. Now, we are going to continue to stay online because a lot of folks have expressed to me and to the rest of our staff that they just want to kind of continue to do the online thing for a while. That's totally cool. We're going to be live streaming our 2 Sunday morning worship services. We'll tell you more about that in just a moment when we talk about all of our services. But myself, Pastor Scott, our staff, our church leaders, the administrative council approved this plan. And what's funny is in all of these conversations, I mean, hours and hours and hours, days and days of just brainstorming and thinking about these things. I mean, this is stuff that we haven't gone through before. So we've been giving each other a lot of grace to figure out, how do we do this? How do we do it well? How do we do it where everybody is, you know, the safest? That's really our hope, where we want to make sure that, yeah, we want to come back to worship, but we want to do it in a really safe way. So we feel like we've created this plan that's going to enable as many people that want to come back into the building for worship, but also create the online presence still for those that don't want to come back yet. But we've been working on some really cool stuff that will help us kind of do this in the safest way possible. We've been saying from the parking lot into the pew. That's what we're thinking about, how to keep people safe when they come back to worship.
It's a big challenge, Michael, and like you said, it's the book hasn't been written on it. So we got a few people hopping on right now. We have Marcus. Hey, I miss you guys, Marcus. I think everybody's going through this missing cycle. And this is exactly how this online forum works. When you type a question in, we're going to bring it up on screen and we're going to talk about it. And, you know, to see all the hard work that Trinity did put into this, you can always visit trinitymonacohill.org, and the reopening plan is on this page. So you can get an idea of how things are going to work. And to get even more detail, if you want to view the full plan, click view full plan, and you'll be able to understand exactly the reasons behind all the decisions. And one of the first things we're going to talk about, because Michael, you said these overarching values are so important. Let's talk about this multi-generational church and this multi-generational reopening. Because, you know, you've had people ask you questions like, are we going to sign up online? Are we going to have a sign up genius? How is this going to work? And talk about why you chose not to do a sign up genius and why that fits into your multi-generational approach.
Yeah, sure. So before we get right into a little bit more of the detail of the Q&A tonight, which continue to put your questions in the comments, right? Let me just talk for a brief moment about the why behind our reopening plan. We really wanted to lean into some of the values of our church and just the values that we hold during this time. And one of the things that kept, you know, coming up to the surface for me and for some of our leaders and staff has been, we're a multi-generational church. And if we're so that means, basically what that means is there's people in our church that are in every decade of life, you know, babies, children, youth, young adults, all the way up, people's into their 80s and probably 90s. So every decade of life is represented. So if we're really going to be the church, how do we reopen in a way that honors our multi-generations? And so while we have shifted a lot of things to online, we have also, with our pastoral care and other ways that we've tried to do ministry, have had to do things in a non-digital way. So we've gotten on the phone. We've done a lot of handwritten letters. Not only do we send out an email with the plan, but we mailed out over 495 actual letters to people. I mean, when was the last time anybody did that? But we know not everybody has email. Not everybody has access to a smartphone or to be able to pre-register for one of our 6 worshiping opportunities. So that really was, how do we value people that they want to come back to church, but they may not have the technological capacity or ability to do so? So one of the things I'm really going to encourage all of you tonight as we think about, hey, you know, in these next couple of weeks, what service, if you want to come back to in-person worship, which one do you want to come to? Because what we try to do is to create as many varying opportunities for people to come where, look, if we all try to show up on Sunday morning, we're not going to be able to get in. We can only fit 94 people in the sanctuary at a time. That's why we're doing 6 services every week. That's why children's ministry isn't just happening on Sundays, it's happening on Wednesday night as well. And we're not just doing Sunday morning services, we're doing evening services, but also for those that may not like evening services or they don't want to drive, you know, sort of later at night, we do have a Tuesday at noon service. So Tuesday at noon, Wednesday at 6, Thursday at 6, Sunday morning at 9 and 11 a.m. And those 2 services will be live streamed, as well as Sunday night at 6 p.m. So really what we're going to ask you too, all the services are going to be the same message for that week. The music, as you see, traditional and contemporary, the offerings there are going to be varied, but it's going to be the same theme, same message. Don't worry, you're not going to miss out on one. I'm going to be at all 6 services. So I'm really excited to be able to try this new thing. It's going to be a challenge, but we're going to figure out how to get through it together. But really, which one can you come to? It's just for a season from mid-September leading up to the week of Christmas that we're going to try this, and we're going to learn things every week. We're going to learn things as we unroll this out. So continue to just think about, hey, maybe we want to come on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night or that Tuesday at noon, a lunch break. We know that you may need to take off work a little bit early one night if you want to come to the night services, or come on a Sunday night at 6 o'clock. But try to, if we can, make those adjustments because we want to create as much room for everybody, not just on Sunday morning, but throughout the entire week.
The strategy there is you have such a large and flourishing community that if it were just Sunday, people would sign up and a lot of people would be left out, correct? So the point of the multiple services is that everyone gets a chance to sort of come through and get that week's message and really start to get back that feeling of church and in-person worship. Because I don't know if anybody's like me, we really miss sort of that in-person stuff. Like, this is great. We kind of get our little fix, but we basically do want that in-person stuff. So what days are people looking to come? What days are more popular other than Sundays? And as you start to comment and talk about days that feel like they're going to fit for you, then those are days that we're going to encourage you to come and kind of check out the church on that day. And again, like Michael said, you're going to get access to him for all these services. It's not going to be any different. Let's talk about some of your FAQs. So if for anybody that's interested, they can go to trinitymollicahill.org and they can see a whole list of frequently asked questions. And the one thing we want to talk about, what's going to happen if we reach a capacity limit? So there are no signups. We don't have a sign-up genius. What's going to happen if we reach a capacity limit on a certain day?
Yeah, that's a great question. And a lot of what we've been trying to figure out in this plan, a lot of our things have been, I don't know, we're figuring this out, right? So here's what I'm trying to think through. Look, we don't want to turn anybody away. This is just going to be a really challenge. I mean, in my opinion, even if we pre-register, we could pre-register, and if we're not careful, some people might still just show up. So think about not just the members of our church, but also the members of our community that would want to come and they see something's happening and they want to come and check out our church. So we're being mindful not just of our multi-generational church, but also of our entire community. Look, we don't want to have to say to someone that we've reached capacity and you can't come in. We're going to do everything that we can. We're going to be creative. We're going to be safe, right? We're going to be safe. But we're going to be as creative as possible to figure out how to make sure that as many people that want to come can come. Now, think about like the Sunday morning contemporary service or the Wednesday night contemporary service where the kids ministry is happening. We're going to have two different spaces, not only for the worship, but also the children are going to have their own space. So on those times, we are going to be able to accommodate not only the 94 in the sanctuary, but up to 72 children or persons, right, in the children's space. So there are going to be some times where there'll be more people in the building, but in that actual space, we do need to kind of honor those 25% rules. And I mean, if someone comes for the 9 o'clock and it's full, we have an 11 o'clock, just, we say, go get a cup of coffee and come back and join us at 11 o'clock. If they miss the 11 o'clock, then we say, hey, go get lunch and take a nap and come back for the 6 p.m. service on Sunday. If someone, can't come for the 6 p.m. service, we say, hey, come back on Tuesday. We're just going to go as many options as possible. Now, if for some reason, too, if there's a time that works, that doesn't work, these times don't work for you, and you have a group of friends that you're like, hey, we really want to do this time. If you get a group together, I'll come. I'll figure it out, okay? But that would be on you folks, is to figure out, get a group of people and say, hey, look, we want to do a Saturday night. If it's more than 3 people, let's figure this out, okay? But we're going to do the best that we can to make sure that we accommodate as many people as possible. It'll break my heart if we have to turn people away. That's why if you're watching this now, and I would just really encourage you to help us out, to help the community out, and to say, for a season, would you be willing to maybe try another night? Now, we don't know what these numbers are going to look like when we reopen. That's why we did 6 different worshiping opportunities. But we'll learn along the way, right? So help us out. If you want to come, try a night service. But here's the rule. Like Seinfeld said, you can't double dip the chip.
You can't dip the chip.
So if you come, that should be your church for the week. One of the things that we see about the church is every day, because the church is the people, right? So as much as, our building has not been open, the church has still been alive and has been serving in mission. And as much as we say that the church is the people, this is really, in COVID reality, been a time for us to prove that the church is about the people. So we've accommodated with some online platforms, But now that we're kind of heading back into the building, let's also not just be so building centric that we think that it just has to be at this time on this day. This is still a time, it's a liminal space, a creative space for you, for your family, for your friends to say, hey, what if we come on a Thursday night? What if we come on a Tuesday at our lunch hour, or bring someone that maybe not feel comfortable driving at night? You can bring them to the Tuesday at noon service. It'll be a good time.
Love that. So we got a few comments. So we have Matthew says, I may be helping in the sound room at church. Matthew, that's going to be a big thing we talk about next week. For any of you that are interested in service work and are interested on how can I help with this reopening plan, please join us next Monday, because we're going to talk in depth about how you can be a part of this reopening plan and really help. We got Kristen Berger. Hey. So
Hey.
we're going to pause real quick. This is sort of a check-in time. We want to know if you're watching us live or you're catching this in the replay. We'd like to hear from you in the comments. We'd like to hear that you're here with us tonight. And this is going to lead us into our next point when we talk about one of the overarching values being how to really still help those people that want to remain online, that want to stay safe at home. This is a big factor of what we're doing with that. But talk about the people that want to still continue to worship online, and talk about how we're not leaving them out of the mix.
Yeah, we're really trying to do our best, not only to provide, worship content online. We've been doing that on our YouTube page, since quarantine, but really trying to think creatively about how to help people keep engaging with us and stay connected for those that want to be online. So if you have any ideas, put them in the comments of ways that we can be creative to support you. We're always learning, experimenting. This is the time for us. One of the values that we kind of named was, this is a time for innovation and fun, not innovation and stress. So we're going to experiment, try some things, but really, for me, digital community is community. And so for those that want to stay online, we are still kind of growing here at Trinity of figuring out ways to continue to engage people in that format. But I already know that there's folks that are out of state that have said, Trinity's my church, and we're doing our best that we can to help them stay connected. And
so funny you say that, because you have Kristen Berger that says just watching from college to see what's going on. So you do have people that are in other places that still enjoy being able to engage with content and have that church feeling wherever they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've got a great team of, Ray Sambor is kind of heading up our AV crew, and he's, not only making sure that our live stream is getting up and running. I tell you, Pastor Scott today and Ray were in the sanctuary. They were doing some wild things. That's all I'm just going to say. I took a picture of Scott is up on the ceiling cleaning lights so that we have good lighting for our live stream. So when we're talking about coming back to the building, folks, wait till you see, we've done some things with our building because the building's been shut since mid-March. Mm-hmm. There's a couple rooms that got some fresh coat of paint. I think you're really going to like coming back into the building. But in the same way that we're trying to get the building ready to come back, we've been also trying to, in our digital platforms, figuring out what's going to be the best online experience for people, not only just in terms of viewing, but in terms of engagement. So help us out with that. What do you want to see? Put it in a comment. Email us, reach out to us.
Yeah, maybe you want a midweek message from Michael online. This is your chance to sort of say, you know what, this may help me be more connected throughout the week, because ultimately the job here is to make sure that you feel connected and that you're part of community, and know that this is an awkward time, like Michael said, and this is your time to voice your opinions. And who knows, they may be the next great idea that this church needs. So we have Judy who's joined us. Finally got it on my computer instead of my phone. We're so happy to have you here, Judy. So here's a great question that Stephen asked: communion. So has there been a plan around communion for people that want to take communion?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Stephen. So one of the things that I've actually been able to serve communion, there was someone that said, hey, we really would love for you to come and serve communion to us. So if I gather a group of my friends in the backyard, we've been doing these backyard gatherings. Mm-hmm. And in the backyard gatherings, we've just been talking, get to know you questions, other things like that. They said, would you be willing to come back and serve communion? So what that person did is invited some folks over to their backyard, socially distanced, and I served communion. Now, it's one of those interesting communion cups where it's a little cup of juice and then a wafer on top.
Yep, he knows.
Right. So, if from now until our reopening plan, if there's a group of people that would like to gather safely in the backyard for a time of communion, reach out to our office. Now, the first communion Sunday in the Methodist tradition, Danny, we typically do communion the first Sunday of the month. That's what's happening here at Trinity as well. And so that first communion Sunday in October is we're planning to serve communion. And so what you would probably do is to grab those individually packed communion those sets, as you enter on that communion Sunday, and we'll be able to share in that actually World Communion Sunday, right? Is the 1st in October. We'll be able to share together, but still do it in a safe way. So we are planning on serving communion in that style, and we're looking to more creative elements and means, but that's our plan, is to be able to serve the sacraments, including baptism too.
Love that.
Figuring out how do we do baptism. We're going to figure it out.
There's a way to do everything. Marcus Fenimore says, amen. Right. Love that, Marcus. Sandy, and this is the great stuff, Sandy. This is the thing that for all the pastors and leaderships over at Trinity Mall Gale, they're doing their best to make the best decisions. And for people like you that say, thank you for all your preparation you're doing. The plan looks great, and I plan on seeing you Tuesdays at noon. That just shows your ability to kind of adapt and understand that these are different times, and you're making those changes. So we want to thank you, Sandy, for your ability to kind of move along with the plan here and really grab space on a Tuesday, so that, the one thing we have to think about on Sundays is there are new believers, right? New believers that are in seasons of life that oftentimes want to find a church. And if you have the ability to go on a Tuesday, that might open a seat on a Sunday for somebody that's just in that new stage of starting the relationship with God. And that's something to kind of think in the back of your mind.
Good. I'm thinking, in those FAQs, our staff, we spent tons of hours really just grilling each other on all of these questions, trying to brainstorm as best as we could what we thought some of these questions would be. And so I don't know if we're just doing a really good job of answering everybody's questions before they've been asked. I mean, what are some other questions that you might have tonight? Feel free to reach out to us. But we've tried to think of all sorts of different details. We can go through a couple of them if you want to, Danny.
Yeah, let's start a very basic one. Do I have to wear a mask? I think we all know the answer to that, but let's make it official. Yeah,
we do. Indoors? Yeah. Yes. We want.
So that's a great question. When does the mask go on? Is it from the outside? We talk about the plan from the parking lot to the. When does the mask come on? Should the mask come on as soon as you exit your car? What's customary there?
Yeah, I think people have to feel that out as they are coming in. So if there's like a group of people walking in, just use your common sense, or if you can, be mindful of some social distancing even outside. Kind of the rule in New Jersey is you don't have to all the time outside, but you have to do social distance. But if you're going indoors anywhere, the rule still now is you have to wear a mask. So I would say, as you start to get to those steps, make sure that mask is on, and we'll be ready to go to welcome you. And the way that we're trying to welcome you is that we think that we can get people into the building. We do have handicap accessible entrances here that we'll be using for all of our services. So, but how to get people in as safe as possible. So there'll be someone there opening the door for you so that you don't have to touch the door. So, because again, we don't need 94 people touching the door. We're going to have that special one person that's on our hospitality team, our frontline experience team, that's going to be able to open. When was the last time someone opened the door for you? Come to church and it'll happen. All right. So here's a really good question. Do we plan on a full service, music, the whole nine? Is this going to feel like a normal service? It will feel a little bit different. It will be probably a bit shorter. Although I don't know if many people have ever complained that worship was short. No.
Right.
So yeah, so there will be music, and that's why, right? We are asking for people to wear masks because we are going to be doing congregational singing. So
Mhm.
even more, that's why we need to wear a mask to kind of reduce some of that, aerosol or whatever the proper language is. So wear a mask while we're singing. I know it will feel weird, but some of the things that we normally do in the worship service, we have to adjust because people may not want to pass the peace of Christ or to do a greeting time. Some churches that takes 20 minutes with everybody running around high-fiving each other. So that may save us some time at Trinity. Even the way that we do our offering, we offer our gifts to God, where it used to be the whole passing the plate kind of stuff.
Mhm.
We feel like people shouldn't be touching one sort of common plate. So we're going to be doing something a little bit different there. So with all of the different services that are listed, contemporary music, traditional music, there'll be some special music at some of these different services. That comes down based upon what people want to do, if they want to share. So our music teams are kind of forming up and figuring out how to do that. So it will feel, like a real service. We're going to make it as meaningful and special as possible, but we are going to make sure that we keep it to a decent time, because we do want to make sure we have time, especially on Sunday morning, to clean in between, sanitize in between the services. So that's why we picked those times that we did. But
Got it.
yeah, I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun. And in some ways, we're really trying to think creatively about how to do our worship services. Hi, Pam. Thanks for watching.
Pam Clark is watching. Linda says, Al and I plan to attend the Wednesday night service. Looking forward to hearing the worship band live. Again, Linda, thank you for going with the flow and picking a different service time that works for you. So Christina had a question about how will the church follow the 6-foot rule?
Yeah, so we're looking on how to space people out well based upon how people enter. So we're still kind of figuring that out. But obviously, in the sanctuary itself, there will be space given. Will be social distancing within the sanctuary. So we can have 94 people there. Doesn't mean everyone's going to be sitting in the same 3 pews. Who knows? You may even have to sit towards the front. I mean, church is the only place in the world where people show up early to get a bad seat. So what COVID will teach us is that, hey, we may have to put some people in the front row in order to make sure that we fit all 94 safely with our social distance. But we're sorting that out now. We're marking off the spots, and part of our hospitality team, they'll be able to show you right where we need to go.
Gotcha. Cool. So Linda also had another question. And Linda, we are not pushing this question off, but I do want to say that the next Monday Live is really focused on the people that are ready to step up and do service work, people that are ready to really be a part of the host team and the welcoming. And there may be a few extra positions that aren't there for traditional church that might be needed to be filled. So this is a fantastic question, but I'm going to encourage you to hop on next Monday because we're going to go in detail about what's needed. Let's see. We got another question. My husband and I have been watching and worshiping virtually with Trinity since July 1st. I realize you were talking about worship service mainly, but what do you offer as far as Bible studies, ways to serve next Monday, etc.? Are they virtual or can they physically meet? Can your Bible studies, can your life groups, can they physically meet?
Yeah, so what we're playing in terms of building usage right now is that all Bible studies or groups would be meeting, virtually, so not in the building. But if there's a Bible study or a small group that wants to meet social distanced outside, that would be fine as well. Again, once we start to get into the colder weather, then things would have to adjust. But for a couple of weeks or whatever people want to do, but we've already asked our administrative committees as well as our current Bible studies that have been meeting. They've been doing this since March. So we are offering some new Bible studies that'll be coming up in September. So information will be coming out about that. But those are all being planned for Zoom or virtual means. There are some, we're always trying to figure out ways for people to connect and to serve in mission. Your Place at the Table, or YPAT as we call it here, has been continuing to serve our community. It's a food pantry, Danny, that reaches into our Mulca Hill and greater area. They're fantastic. So they continue to serve every third Friday and every Monday, Sunday. I know every third Friday, though. I'm new. I'm still learning, but you can go to ypat.org
I'm
for
sure
all their
somebody knows, and they can put the details in the comments.
There we go. There we go. So, but yeah, so that's a way to continue to serve in mission. Really, a lot of our focus for building uses has been in order to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. There hasn't been as much wiggle room for some other, kind of current church activities. We've tried to really keep those days open for our community. So you think of recovery groups. The recovery groups will, like AA, will be starting to meet back up. We're even thinking about, the Boy Scouts wants to start to meet. They're thinking about starting outside, but they want to have, an indoor option. Our fellowship halls, we think big enough, it can fit 72 people, social distance, that the Boy Scouts could be able to use some of that space. Even our youth group is on Sunday nights is going to be doing things outside, but in inclement weather, using that indoor space, and or in colder nights coming into that socially distanced fellowship hall space where the 72 can be accommodated. So we're trying our best to do this. Go ahead, Danny.
No problem. I was going to say, Molly on here says, "Hey, Trinity." Molly, thanks for hopping on today. Marcus, I will pray for you guys. I love that.
Thanks, Mark.
Linda, thanks. I'll watch next week. That's going to be awesome. So we have a few great questions here. We're going to answer this one real quick. What time for Q&A on Monday? Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for next Monday and the following Monday. We've got a plan of what we're going to talk about. So we have a really good question, and she says, "I understand that you don't want to limit anybody from coming and making them sign up, but how will we know which service will be less crowded? I have the ability to go to a few different services, and I'm certainly willing to go to another service, but how will we know which one will be crowded or not?" And I think the answer is going to be there, is you guys are probably going to figure that out the first week. So maybe there's a formal way that we can communicate, maybe in one of our lives in the future on what those days are. Right, Michael?
Yeah, I think it's something we're going to be learning as we go. I mean, I have some ideas about what I think might be a little bit more of the busier nights, but really it's just kind of guessing. But we're going to, like I said, we're going to do everything that we can in order to get as many people in as safely as possible. So please come and really, if you don't have to stick to one, if you want to try one and then the next week try another night, you can do that too. We don't want to tell you what to do. We're just trying to say, hey, if possible, let's just be mindful of, we've got 6 opportunities. Let's take advantage of maybe coming to one. I can talk through each day and give you my guesses, but my hope on Sunday is that on Sunday morning, we're not only be able to help accommodate the 2 services of 94, but also I'll let people know on those days, hey, on Tuesday we had this amount, on Wednesday we had this amount, and on Thursday. So even though it feels weird that only 94 people are in this space right now, and we'll have a couple people in the sound room, there'll be more people in the building than just the 94 in the sanctuary, but we'll be spaced out. I'll be able to say it feels weird with 94 people in this room right now, but thanks to people picking another night, we've been able to host blank amount of people in worship already this week. And then we still have another service tonight. So we're hoping that will work.
And it looks from your schedule that Wednesday and Sunday is when you're going to have Trinity Kids. So I'm assuming those are going to be very family-friendly nights. If you don't happen to have children, those are probably good nights to not go, right?
Yeah,
for families.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to tell anybody what to do, but yeah, we are trying to make sure that we, have at least more than one option for children's ministry, and kind of the rhythm of what's been happening at Trinity in the past is that Wednesday night was a night where they did a kids program to begin with. They used to have a dinner and some other Bible studies and things like that. So we think that will be a pretty exciting night in the life of our church again.
Matt has a question: are husband and wife allowed to sit closer than 6 feet?
That depends. You're going to ask your spouse. They may want to sit 6 feet away.
They may want to break. Who knows?
Matt, I will talk with Lisa and see. No. Right. Yeah. So Matt, Lisa. Yeah. families don't have to sit 6 feet apart from each other. So if you come with your family, come with your spouse, come with a friend. Okay. So our rule has been, if you ride in the car together, you can sit together.
That's a great response there. I love that. That's easy to know. If you're arriving together, you can sit together.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We got some more questions. Christina asked, so what happens if you're a hearing impaired person, is what I think she's saying, and you need to sit up front? Will there be dedicated seats up front for people who are hearing impaired?
That's a great question.
I think so too. This is one of the things you might not think about that might say, hey, we need to have, 2 or 3 seats available.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Christina. And I would think too that if you would say that to one of the members of our host teams or our hospitality teams, that's what I'm calling it. We may come up with a cooler name. If you've got a cooler idea for that team that's going to welcome people, put that in the comment section too. That's just what I've been calling it. But I bet if you let that person know, then they would make sure that seat would be available.
Yeah, and probably even make changes if that is the case and there's no seats. They could ask someone to move back if that's the case. Yeah.
That's what I know about the people of Trinity so far, just in my 2 months here, Danny, that they're grace-filled people and they're willing to do whatever they need to do to make people feel welcome. And that's what I appreciate so much about this church. And that's why I'm confident in this reopening plan. I think we can get this done because the hearts of the people here are kind and generous and good. And I think we can sort it out and work through this together.
That's great. Molly says, so excited to get back. Judy, I am happy with all the options to be able to go to church. Yeah, I mean, you can view this as a benefit. It isn't just Sunday anymore. There's something about having church on a different day of the week to kind of get you in that, Sunday feeling throughout the week. It's a powerful thing. Dolores, great planning. Okay, so we've hit the 36-minute mark, Michael. So for the replay audience, I think this is a good time for us to say, hey, let's dive into next week. But if you're watching this in the replay and you do want your questions answered, don't forget you can comment that. We have staff that will be monitoring these comments. We'll love to answer your questions. And more importantly, as we just learned, there could be some questions that we haven't thought of yet. So your question could be something, what if you're hearing impaired and you want to sit up front? You're helping us grow by putting those comments in the comment section. And to give you a little idea of what we're going to talk about next week, Michael, talk about, kind of what we're going to be diving into next Monday.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Next Monday night, 8 o'clock on Facebook and YouTube Live, we're going to be having Pastor Scott Rambo join us. He's our associate pastor. He's going to be joining this team with me and Danny and taking some of your questions, talking a little bit more in detail about what it's going to take in order to make all of this happen. Some of the different ways that you can get involved, that you can volunteer to serve, and just kind of more of the logistical things. I really wanted tonight just to talk about a little bit of some of our values, which you can read online, trinitymulcahill.org. But next week with Pastor Scott, talking a little bit more about some logistics of what it's going to look like, how it's going to happen. And so he's joining us. It's going to be a good conversation. So continue to ask questions, comment, but we'll also begin to address some of those detailed things next week as well.
Love that. So again, thanks for your time tonight, Michael. Thanks for being available to your community on Mondays at 8 p.m. to really have these conversations and talk. And I can speak for you probably. It's great to see all these just great comments that come through. Thanks. I will watch next week. People that are just so willing to pick different days. It just says a lot, again, about your community and their willingness to really be sort of pliable for this process.
Right. And thanks, Danny. I appreciate your help in helping moderate and make all of these things happen for us. Really appreciate your friendship and your ability to help us with this stuff. And again, I just keep encouraging folks to share this. Danny, talk about some of the power of social media. If there's someone that that's still maybe trying to find a community that is trying to, connect, can they share this? They can like it. What can they do to help tell the story of what we're trying to do in the community with our church?
Totally. There may be churches that haven't reopened yet or have no plan to reopen or worse, possibly closed and don't have a reopening plan. So when you share this and give somebody the option to just show up in their feed, you may be a blessing in somebody's life that needs something new. If you have a friend that's in the church that wasn't on here tonight, then another way you can do is tag them in this video. And the most personal thing you can do is click the share button and then click send in messenger. So you can deliver that to a friend and say, hey, here's the reopening plan. Want to make sure you didn't miss it. Check it out. And the power of social media means we have the ability to reach people who might be looking for a new community or might be looking to come on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and be a part of community. So the power of social is huge. And when you take a few extra actions and share, like, or comment, or tag a friend in this, it helps more people hear about what's going on here at Trinity Malacca Hill.
Thank you so much. Friends, grace and peace to you. Have a